Rocket composition. 5. Now supposing your cases to be thoroughly dry and ready to be charged, the next thing that we must consider is the composition with which they are to be filled. Judging from the effect produced by rockets prepared by different makers, I should imagine that the formulas for their compositions are of almost endless variety. Some seem to prefer a very quick composition, which will raise the rocket to a great elevation in a very short time. Others, one which will produce a large and rich tail of sparks, not ascending so fast or so high. In my opinion, the mean between these two extremes is decidedly preferable. That which I aim at in rocket manufacture is to produce a very high, but not a very rapid, ascent. And when this my object has been properly gained, I have never had any fault to find with the tail of sparks which is thrown out. I may say, without any exaggeration, that I have experimented upon several hundreds of different compositions, varying first one ingredient and then another, increasing or decreasing them by very gradual steps, until I have come to the conclusion that the two following are the only ones worth retaining. But it must be remembered that it is not enough to have a good formula or two in order to be successful, for much will depend upon the manner in which and the care with which these are made up. Number 1. Niter, 16 parts. Sulfur, 4 parts. Charcoal, 8 to 9 parts. This, I believe, is a very old formula, and, provided the charcoal be properly prepared, may be found very useful and effective. I used this receipt for a long time, and thought it incapable of improvement, until, from a wish to try the effect of the addition of a little meal powder, I came by chance upon the following, which I do not think can be surpassed. Number 2. Niter, 16 parts. Sulfur, 3 parts. Meal powder, 4 parts. Charcoal, 8 parts. Now, let me tell you that the success of rocket compositions depends upon two things: the intimate union of their ingredients, and the fineness or coarseness of the charcoal. Such charcoal as you can procure at a chemist's ready pounded will be of no use whatever to you, for it is in far too fine a state of subdivision. You will require a much coarser charcoal for the most part, and one not of the same coarseness or fineness throughout. If you could make a mixture containing charcoal of 3 different degrees of fineness, the first moderately fine, the next in pieces of the size of grains of ordinary sporting gunpowder, and the third of the size of large poppy seeds, and take equal parts of each of these 3, you will find that you have a mixture very serviceable for rocket purposes. But you can procure of Mr. Darby, whom I have mentioned before, a mixed charcoal which will save you the trouble of sifting. I recommend you, however, to use no charcoal that will not pass readily through your 20-mesh mixer, for your object is not to have your charcoal in large pieces, but to have a certain proportion of it coarser than the rest. You will find that the larger your proportion of coarse charcoal is, the slower your composition will be, and within certain limits, the more fine charcoal you employ, the quicker it will be. Now, as the sparks produced by coarse charcoal remain visible in the air much longer and are much larger than those produced by fine charcoal, I think it advisable to employ a good proportion of the coarse, and in order to make up the strength that the composition loses by this plan, I take a smaller proportion of sulfur, as you will see by comparing formulas numbers 1 and 2, and at the same time add a certain quantity of meal powder. All these ingredients may be procured of Mr. Darby. The mode of mixing them is as follows. Weigh out your quantities of nitre, sulfur, and meal powder. Mix them well together, and pass them through your 40-mesh sifter. This you will have no difficulty in doing, because the condition in which you purchase them is one of fine powder. Your meal powder especially cannot be too finely sifted for this purpose. You will find it a great convenience to add to this mixture a few drops of methylated spirits of wine or gin. A very slight quantity will suffice to render it less dusty. But you must bear in mind that whenever either of these liquids is employed, the composition will be sure to rust the steel spindle around which it is driven, unless you take the precaution of rubbing it over with a little oil or grease after using and before putting it away. Next add your charcoal. Stir the whole together and pass the mixture 2 or 3 times through your 20-mesh mixture. Stir the whole together and pass the mixture 2 or 3 times through your 20-mesh mixer. By this means it will be thoroughly incorporated and fit for use.